But right now, we're going to be looking at the impact of coping with the post-subsidy removal era. And we're discussing this in line with World Mental Health Day. Our guest is no other person but Dr. Maymunah Yusuf Kadiri. She joins us virtually. She's a mental health expert. Dr. Maymunah, thank you so much for joining us on the program this morning. We couldn't wait to have you, as a matter of fact.
Thank you very much to all Nigerians. Happy World Mental Health Day. We know that one day is not enough to discuss mental health issues, but at least let us enjoy this day and we bring forth, good news to every Nigerian when we discuss mental wellness for every one of us.
All right, then. With your opening, I can only imagine what it means to encounter you, because you're already inspiring hope just with that opening alone. But then let me just start by asking you a question. I was discussing with my colleague earlier on show, and Nigerians don't seem to pay so much attention to their mental health. In some quarters, people think that when you talk about mental health, that is being too elitist, as a matter of fact. But then generally, I just want you to give us an overview. What is mental health, and how does these affect us as a people?
Good question, and in a good way to start this conversation, because if we do not understand what mental health is, it's very easy for us to still continue to use the derogatory words that, you are mad, you are wacko, you are crazy, you are psycho, and all the negativity that comes with it. It's very important for every Nigerian and everybody globally to understand we do not use those words anymore, because it's infringing on our human rights and it violates our human rights. So what does mental health mean? According to the World Health Organization, I'm going to break it down so that each and every one of us can relate, and in simple words. Mental health is the ability for an individual, meaning you, me, us, we, right? The ability for every individual to, number one, realize our potential in life. Number two, the ability to deal with the day-to-day stressors of life. Number three, the ability to work productively and fruitfully. And last but not the least, the ability to give back to our society or our communities. And it's imperative for us to understand that this definition underscores the fact that mental health is not just merely the absence of a mental health disorder, but a holistic state of well-being. It then just means that each and every one of us have mental health, but what we do not all have is mental illness or mental health disease or mental health condition or mental health challenge. So if anybody says or sees you and say, do you have mental health, with your shoulders raised high and with your full chest, accept it that you have mental health. But you do not have a mental illness, because it's 1 in 4 of us that we have a mental illness in our lifetime. And with World Health Organization statistics is telling us that 1 in 8 of us currently is living with a mental health challenge.
Okay, I wish you had more light on your face so that we could see your beautiful face in a clearer way. But all the same, you're saying that 1 out of every 8 persons has some level of mental illness, right? So what would you say, due to what you've discovered over time, to be the most common among them? Maybe top 3? And why would you say that is?
Top 3 mental health disorders, not only for Nigerians, but on a global scale, anxiety, depression, and substance abuse. And why would we say that? When I made mention of the definition of mental health, I talked about the ability to deal with the day-to-day stressors of life. Each and every one of us deal with stressors in our daily life. And the truth is that we may know these stressors, sometimes we may not know these stressors. And you cannot say, I'm wishing away the stressors from my life. No, I will just know that even when you are sleeping, you are being stressed, because your heart has to pump the blood that will circulate around your body and carry oxygenated blood. Your brain has to be functioning. Your heart and your lungs have to be breathing so that you can breathe well. So you see, you cannot say, I'm avoiding stress completely. You cannot say I'm taking away stress from my life completely. In fact, you need stress to survive. Because if a snake goes into the studio where you are right now, you're going to run, or you freeze, or you fight. So those are the things. So the truth is that because of these stressors we face, or the stressors we face on a day-to-day basis, the top 3 mental health conditions that each and every one of us face are anxiety disorders. I'm not talking about being in an anxious state. I'm talking about you being diagnosed as having anxiety disorder. I'm talking about clinical depression, not just a state of being depressed. I'm talking about substance abuse. And of course, you can already know with the challenges we are facing in Nigeria, there are so many people that are dealing with abuse of substance, alcohol use, nicotine abuse, and the biggest people faced with this challenge right now are our youths. And 70% of Nigerians are youths. And we are having almost an epidemic of substance abuse. So these are the 3 top mental health disorders that we have faced as human beings.
All right, so doctor, if we look at Nigeria, I mean, when you take a good look at Nigerians, with what we're dealing with right now, we just had, of course, the fuel subsidy removal, which we were on for a very long period of time. And as a result of this, we've seen prices of food commodities skyrocketing. I was just telling Shion a short while ago that an egg right now costs 150 naira. I don't know how much it sells for in places like Lagos and the rest. But then when people are faced with this sort of reality, what they necessarily did not envisage, what sort of impact does it have on their mental health? And if there is an impact, how do parents make sure that they still stay sane? I'm talking about parents now, guardians, or generally Nigerians. What do they do, or what measures should they take to stay sane?
Inflation is almost like the order of the day right now. You go to the market in the morning, you buy something, in the afternoon or in the evening, you come back, it's different. In fact, when you use the example of eggs, I can really relate to that because I was in the supermarket a week ago, and when I saw the receipt of what I bought, egg was 4,000 naira. I went back to the girl, I'm like, excuse me, is there a mistake here? How can this plate of egg be 4,000? I said, madam, carry your egg and go, because tomorrow when you come, the price might have increased. And that is what we are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Inflation, 100,000 is maybe like 10,000 naira. Your 10,000 is maybe like 10 naira. And you know, you are constantly faced with this chaos, constantly faced with this challenge. And now people have to decide on, do we do without meat or fish, or do we just eat once a day, or even 001? It is difficult, and as parents we are faced with more, because we are not just providing for our families, we are providing also shelter, we are providing education. You are faced with so many things, and with this inflation, that doesn't mean that our salaries have even increased. Some of us are paying the same salary before COVID, and now inflation has even increased, and it has eroded into that salary. So how are we even coping? And these are the stressors we are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So what do we do if you are in that situation? The first thing is that it's good for us to realize that we are in a precarious situation. The other thing is that we have to also realize that this is the chaos all over the world, and Nigerians are not going to be taken away from it. And of course, realizing who you are, where you are, and what you are dealing with as a Nigerian. And we cannot say that because you are in this situation, you have to go, everybody will go take medication, go on admission, or seek for mental health care. As individuals, let's first start with ourselves. So self-help tips I always give when I'm in any platform is self-care. Because self-care is something that you can give yourself. Self-care is most times what is within your control, because there are some things that are not within your control, and there's literally nothing you can do about that. Government policies that are not in tandem with our reality, inflation, chaos in the world, you are not in control. But what are you in control? Self-care. The S in self-care is self-awareness. Do you realize who you are? Do you know your stressors? Do you know your weaknesses? Do you know your triggers? Do you know how much you are earning? Do you know where to source for things that are cheaper as against things that are not cheaper? So the first thing is being self-aware. Every one of us must be self-aware. The E is exercise. Please stop looking at exercise for those that want to lose weight. Look at exercise as a factor that will help you to reduce stress, help you to minimize fear and anxiety. Because when you exercise, it means that you are going to boost what we call a feel-good hormone that is inherent in our system, called the endorphin. There is nobody that ever exercises and feels that immediately. You may feel sad later, but immediately you feel good because it will help you release the feel-good hormones called the endorphins. And the exercise we are talking about is not for you to go and prepare for Olympics or Commonwealth. We are talking about 30 to 45 minutes brisk walk. Brisk walk meaning, please, just move. You are not a tree. So stop looking for a big compound, estate, even within your room, that is one room facing me, I slap you, you can exercise right there. The aim is limit exposure to excessive news and social media. I'm not saying you shouldn't listen to news, but this is news, this is a good thing. Excessive is what I'm talking about. You don't have to be in all platforms. If there's some WhatsApp groups that are not good for your mental health, exit from it, especially those secondary school and the reunion WhatsApp groups that everybody wants to show who they are and if they have arrived. Exit from it. You don't have to be on the X space, you don't have to be on trends. Make sure that you follow Jumbo as against FOMO, fear of missing out as against and joy of missing out as against fear of missing out. The aim is find and engage in pleasurable activities. What gives you joy? What makes you happy? Engage in those things as against peer pressure of trying to be everywhere or being for everybody. Disease. Connect with a healthy support system. Please make sure the people in your inner circle are the right set of people for you, not for everybody. You are not Nigerian jollof rice, neither are you a chocolate. So please, a healthy support system. The A is ask for help when and if you need it. It's a sign of strength and never a sign of weakness. At the R is rest and sleep well. You need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Please, there's no accolade or award for the busiest person on earth. Rest and sleep well. And the last but not the least is E, which is eating right. Make sure your plate is not white and red, which is rice and stew. There are fruits and vegetables in the season every time. You don't have to break the bank. These are the things we are talking about. So the FELFCARE, which one of them are you taking with today? And start with that. That is the first rule when it comes to mental health well-being.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'm sure that people are going to be calling and sending messages regards to getting the acronym to work for them. Don't worry, where your plug, we get you covered here. We got you, as my people always say now. So Dr. Maymunah, let's let you know you can join the conversation. Sorry we couldn't take the calls earlier on because we wanted her to land on this line of thought so we can really get the full dosage of what she wanted to dish out to us this morning. You've mentioned the top 3 issues that constitute mental challenges in the country. Anxiety, depression. You said, anxiety disorders, clinical depression. And the last one is substance abuse. You also mentioned that the first two could be things that come around us, maybe government policies, realities on ground and all of that. But the last one could be a thing of choice. In what ways would you say that substance abuse has been able to constitute to mental disorders among our people, not only the young people? We hear that also older ones also indulge in substance abuse. So please go ahead, let us understand how the level at which we are in this regard.
Great question. Before now, people used to think that when you abuse substance, it's just for the fun. It's just for you to, you are experimenting. It's not a big deal. But with time, and of course, this is where research is coming, this is where innovation comes in. We have found as clinicians and researchers that no, substance abuse affects your brain. It changes your brain. It makes the structure of your brain can actually, be changed. And especially the part of the brain what we call the prefrontal cortex. Prefrontal cortex, like the front, as I'm showing now, is that part of the brain that the function is for executive functioning, decision making, personality. So if that part of the brain is affected, you can imagine what will happen to this individual. Personality changes, you cannot make the right decision, you're always making mistakes, and of course executive functioning, doing things that enable you to move from point to point B and affecting your activities of daily living will grossly be affected. So taking substance is not just for fun anymore. And the thing is that I also have to put it here that the truth is that sometimes people will say, oh, I have an uncle or my daddy or my mommy has been taking this particular alcohol, this substance, and nothing has happened. You are different. We all have our unique brains. So don't compare yourself with somebody. Someone may be abusing substance for 20, 30 years and nothing will happen to him more, but you just one day you enter the street. And which substances are we talking about here? The gateway substance, which we are talking about, alcohol and cigarette. So don't just think that, oh, because it's culturally and socially accepted to take alcohol for birthdays, for ceremonies and all that, it will not affect you. It's the aesthetic use. There's a particular quantity you can take every day or once every week. So you have to know that this is affecting you. And of course, once there's an abuse, addiction is never an event, it's a process. You do not just get addicted. Most times there's always this tolerance. You have to start increasing the dose, the number of drinks or smoke or whatever you take to get that initial high. Then of course, dependency. This means that you are neglecting other aspects of your life to focus on this particular substance or substances you are abusing before addiction setting. It's addiction that is a problem. It's addiction that needs rehabilitation. It's addiction that needs treatment. And quite a number of our youth and people are getting addicted. And sometimes the substance abuse may not just because you just want to take it. It may just be because you are dealing with an existing mental problem like depression that you are managing. So because you want to get out of that bad mood, you want to get out of that mood swings, you start abusing drugs. Sometimes maybe because you are dealing with a long-time debilitating illness, maybe end-stage cancer or long-standing chronic pain. And these are some of the things that can make people to abuse substance or abuse any other drug that we are talking about.
Of mental disorders, and I was thinking maybe we can still take you through that, all the things that you've mentioned, the environmental causes and some other causes that really come from us as individual choices that we make. Since the removal of fuel subsidies, some people are saying that the number of people who are coming down with mental health disorders is on the rise. What have you noticed? And of all the three, perhaps other issues that can be considered to be mental health illnesses, are you there recording at your facility?
Yes. Should we put it that there's an increase in mental health disorders? Yes. In fact, with the very first 1 year of COVID-19, 25% increase in mental health issues. And we are in the post-COVID era, supposedly, because right now where I am, the truth is that there are people that are dealing with COVID. Nigeria may not be recording that, but we have people right where I am that are dealing with COVID-related issues. Let's bring it on to Nigeria. From beginning of the year, and we're the 10th month of the year, we have had, Naira change, of course, cashless society. We have had inflation. We have had a change in administration with the current dispensation where we are in. And there are so many things that we are faced with. And if we want to put it in the Nigeria context, we are told that we are our own local government. So that means we have to create our own roads, create our own water, create our own electricity, and there's chaos everywhere. Does this make people to be more at risk of mental illness? Yes. Let's not forget that some of us are already predisposed to mental health challenges. What do I mean by that? We are already exposed from our childhood that we will have a mental health issue in later in life. Like what I said, 1 in 4 of us, we have a mental illness in our lifetime. And this just means that some of us are coming from homes where there was death of one of both parents as children. Somebody then later nurtured you to who you are today. Some of us are in a home where there was domestic violence. Some of us are in a home where there is positive family history. And of course, all these predisposed us, we call them adverse childhood experiences. Some were sexually abused. And those things just means that you are sitting on the fence. What can that break you down to have a mental challenge now that you are an adult? Is stress. And stress could be you The first is stress itself. Some of us are the ones putting pressure on ourselves. You want to have a Mercedes Benz that you cannot maintain because your neighbor has. You want to take your children to a school that you cannot afford because your neighbor has children in a particular school. You want to travel when you do not have the money, because some people are putting up a lot of pictures online, audio, that they are in this place, meanwhile they are in their homes. So number one of it is stress, which is US. The T is trauma. Unresolved traumas is what can easily also push us to having increase in mental issues. And these unresolved traumas, what we're talking about is that when people have unresolved traumas, they bleed on people that didn't affect them, people that didn't cause their pain, because hurt people hurt people. The R is relationship issues. We use the word now in Nigeria, you've been served breakfast. We know what it is to have relationship challenges. Whether you are in a bad marriage, whether you're in a bad relationship, your partner who you are with can easily make or break you. So you have to be in the right relationship. The E is economic and financial. We are dealing with that right now. Economic issues. How many of us have the salary that can take us home? Your take-home pay cannot take you home. So economic and financial. The second S is school and work. Some of us are dealing with, school of our children, dealing with the work-related environment. Our bosses are, there's harassment. It's not mentally conducive for us. And the last S is sickness. It may be you that is not feeling fine, or it may be somebody in your family that is not feeling fine. So you see, collectively, that word stress can easily precipitate you or expose you to having a mental health challenge.
Wow, Dr. Maymunah, you're just going on and on and on. Wow, incredible. But then I just, as we be to round up the program, I just want to ask you this. There's a general consensus that, well, I wouldn't say consensus, but there's a general belief that accessing medical health experts or mental health experts can be a bit expensive, so there are people who may appreciate the fact that they are going through some of these things that you've mentioned, and all they need to do is find somebody to talk to them so they can get themselves back on their feet again. But then what exactly would you say to people like that? Because we know that in Nigeria here, we are not so big on the issue of mental health, talking about the practitioners and all of that. So how should one approach the situation if he or she comes down with is aware that they have a mental health challenge? How do they access medical care?
All right, and now let's see how this goes today. It's been a very fantastic time on the show this morning, especially with those people reaching out to us to find out how they really can get help once they discover that they need to really fix their mental health situations. So the first thing Dr. Maymunah said is know yourself, know who you are, identify something is changing, not in a good way, and seek help where you should. The right places, which should be the hospital. Today is World Mental Health Day, October 10 every year is set aside to really commemorate the day. And Dr. Maymunah said earlier on that you keep your sanity in check, move away from any toxic area, and ensure that you do what makes you happy and deal with people that really make you chuckle when you see them. Dr. Maymunah, we have to go now. Your parting shot as people really get to know more about their mental health today.